So do you ever feel deflated or down when you scroll and see that your BFFs from high school, they lost 50 pounds? They have a BMW and they're vacationing in the Caribbean. You should be happy for them, but your brain is responding with stress hormones. Those alarm bells are ringing and your body is reacting like there's a threat. And you have a physical reaction, a gut punch. And willpower can't touch that. Today, we're going to get into what's actually happening and what you can do with that.
Welcome to Unafraid Living. I'm Kim. I'm the one asking the questions, but I'm also making sure that we're getting the real answers.
And I'm Coach Suzette, brain health professional, life coach, and your biggest cheerleader for the life you actually want. Together, we're going to quiet the fear and turn up the courage.
Welcome to Unafraid Living, the podcast. I'm Kim, and I am here with Suzette, and today we are going somewhere a little bit different than where we've been before. We are talking about social comparison, dun dun dun, but we're coming at it from a neuroscience angle. This is not a pep talk, it's more like an explanation, and hopefully by the end of this episode, that moment where you put down your phone and you feel gutted, you'll understand exactly what's happening in your brain, and you'll have a few real options for what to do about it.
Social comparison isn't a modern problem or a social media problem. It is our human nature. It's how our brain is wired and always has been wired. Our brains have changed over the years to constantly track our social position within a group. It's always done it, but now it does it differently. So status meant in years past, well, actually even now, but in years past, it especially meant access to resources, protection, and survival. So scanning for where do I rank? That's automatic. Been doing it for years. And some people might call it vanity, but really it's threat detection. Where do I fit? Where am I? So the comparison instinct kept our ancestors alive. But the problem is we don't need to do it to keep ourselves alive, right? The problem is it's just running on Instagram.
Ah, okay. So let's talk about this a little bit. Every time a person opens up their social app, their brain gets dopamine, right?
Yeah, it does.
We've heard this over and over. On TikTok, I imagine there's a million little TikToks about this, about the dopamine hit and why you shouldn't be picking up your phone and getting all of that, right? I want you to explain this a little bit better. What's happening here?
Yeah. Okay. So actually, it's not the picking up of the phone that gives you that dopamine. Maybe it gives you a little more dopamine, but that watching for or that anticipation of, we get dopamine right there. So this is the seeking behavior, the wanting. It's actually not the reward itself. That's why you can scroll for 20 minutes, see nothing good at all, and go back an hour later because you're still waiting for it.
Okay.
You're still wanting it.
That makes a little more sense there.
Yeah, it's the checking loop. The checking is the reward. The loop is the reward. The content might give you another boost, or it actually might send you in a spiral.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think this is kind of like your brain on a slot machine. You know, like you're pulling the lever and you're waiting for the good results to happen, and you're just anticipating that. Ding, 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 ding.
Right? Yeah. Well, and let's back it up a bit, because going, you're planning a trip to Las Vegas or just to up north to Layla. That's what it is. So it's even that trip up there. You're planning the trip. Okay, you get a little dopamine there. You're in the car and you're going. Oh, it's getting a little more. And then, yeah, you put your hand on that lever. What do you say?
Lever.
That's
what I say.
And you pull it. And oh, wow, now there's some real dopamine going. And then if you hit the jackpot, woohoo!
Yeah.
That's a big old burst of dopamine. But what if you don't?
Right.
Yeah, right. So you're spot on there. Hey, if you win that $1,000, you're going to be over the top.
Right. Now, then what happens?
Okay, so when comparison lands badly, yeah, well, maybe there's someone beside you that won $1,500. Darn. Or maybe you didn't win at all and they won $1,500. Even worse, right?
Right.
So someone's highlight reel, they're hitting a tender spot because your body sees that and it releases cortisol. That's the stress hormone. They got it. I didn't. So cortisol's job is to prepare you for a threat. Your heart rate goes up, your focus gets narrow, your body is on high alert. So here's the part that matters, though, is your brain reacts the same way to a social threat as it does to a physical one. So being outpaced, being excluded, being perceived as less than, all of these will activate the same neural threat response as physical danger.
That is crazy. So if you're being chased by a bear, that's the same response as seeing somebody either win $1,500 on a slot machine or have posted about their brand new house or something.
I know.
That's crazy.
That is the part that is all over TikTok and all over Instagram, right? Everybody is saying that all the time, but it is true.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. But that's the way our brain works. And how do we know it? It's because of the research. Well, I mean, more than just this, but here's one example is neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger. She showed that social rejection lights up the same brain regions as physical pain. The same brain regions.
Physical pain.
So you're spiraling after you see someone's post and you just can't shake it. You know, not even all afternoon. It's still with you. And your nervous system, it was running like it was a genuine emergency.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
It wasn't. It totally was. It's all in your mind.
It was all in your mind.
So that's the wiring then. We talk about wiring a lot in this podcast. And I think the reason I wanted to dig into this with you was specifically because, Suzette, you have a really good story about all this.
I do have a story. It's not actually about me. It's about one of my clients, and we're making her very anonymous. But
it could be a couple or many of your clients.
Yes. Okay. Here's the story. And this is pretty much one client, but it does bleed over into a lot of my clients, maybe most of my clients. Okay. Let's just kind of set the stage here. So details have been changed to protect her, but the story is very real and, to me, very sad. So she's got a loyal husband. She has wealth. She has beauty. She has a sweet life. Everybody would look at her and think she has a sweet life. And you know what? If you asked her, she would even say the same thing. She has a sweet life. She can logically think about that and go, wow, I've got a lot more than most people. And she knows it. But she's one of the least happy people I've ever worked with.
Aw.
Okay, so wealth is a thing, right?
Yes.
And it puts you into a category that probably most of us don't live in. I want you to hear the story, and here's the story.
Okay.
I said that, and I was like, oh, that sounds weird. But before an event, so say it's a wedding or a fundraiser, and yes, she goes to lots of those.
Okay.
A party, lots of those. Anything new, especially if it's a group that she hasn't been with before, it's a really big deal. Even just visiting a new, say, a country club with her friend that goes to one elsewhere, belongs to a different one, or a new church. She gets terrified about what she's wearing. Like, what is she going to wear to this event? Anything. You know what? I would venture to say it's even going shopping. Like to the mall. If she's going to Bellevue Square, that's going to look different than if she's going to what is that one? Alderwood Mall. They're two different.
One's upscale, one's just a regular mall.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And so she's terrified about being underdressed or overdressed. But underneath it all, it's not really about the outfit. She really just wants to fit in. She thought that her issues revolved around her wardrobe until she had a full-on panic attack. She wouldn't go to a therapist because, oh my goodness, what would people think?
Right.
But life coaches, hey, they're cool.
That's right. They are.
So she found me. It sounds like a classic case of poor self-confidence, right? I mean, that's what you would think. That's what you would nail it as. But let's pay attention to what was actually happening in her brain. What was she doing? She was scanning the crowd, always scanning the crowd. And she knew this from experience. That's what she would do when she got into a crowd of people. She's scanning it to see where she was going to fit in. Where is she going to rank? Isn't that crazy?
Yes. I mean, I think, do we all do that kind of subconsciously?
Subconsciously, we do. We all do that. Hers was to an extreme.
Okay.
Yeah. So she wanted to have the best. She wanted to have the most expensive. She wanted to have the right thing. She quietly looks down on people who have poor taste. And we think of that as being very shallow. The ancient rank scanning thing that, I think you described earlier, well, it's just on all the time, right? And so that's what her brain was doing, was making her position herself and then look at people. And if they weren't to her standards, then she was looking down on them. And she didn't really mean to. It's not like she is a bad person. She actually isn't. She has a heart of gold. That's why she goes to fundraisers all the time. So it's happening. And not saying that she can't change it, because she certainly can.
That's right.
But she was looking down on them to feel safe. But for goodness sakes, she was thinking, they are not my people. The bad and the sad thing was that she would look to people who were maybe a little better dressed than her. Maybe their marriage looked a little better than hers, maybe a little more wealth. But when she looked up to those people, she felt crushed. They had a little more money. Oh my goodness. How did she know? Oh my goodness. Look at their car, So it's all about what people were doing, that she was looking at them and making these judgments. So she would look below her standards and, she couldn't fit in, and above her standards and she couldn't fit. She had nowhere. She was alone. How sad is that? It went in every direction. It wasn't just about her outfit. It was everything. It was the kids. She had two who were very successful, two who were honestly drug addicts, and she looked at them like they were losers. The sad thing is that more than likely that had been happening their whole lives, and that's why they ended up where they were. And she started to kind of come to realize that she was sorting out herself and her life, her family. She was ranking them, and that wasn't helping her.
It seems like hers is very extreme. Like all of us have this ranking system, but hers is to an extreme. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, you know what's crazy?
What?
She wasn't on social media at all.
That is crazy. Because I know that feeds into it so much.
It does, yes. And it makes people go to these extremes. Well, does it make people go to these extremes? Maybe question. It's not that. Okay. Maybe we can't blame it on social media, because that is exactly what she's doing. Now, I'm thinking about what I just said, and I'm thinking, if you just took that one clip of what I just said and I said, then you could say, oh, blame it all on social media. That's what Suzette Parker does, is she blames all this bad stuff on social media. And I'm just clarifying, that is not what I meant. And that is not what I'm saying. You have to listen to the whole context,
That's
right?
Right.
And here's why I'm telling you that this story is because this was an extreme, and it wasn't due to social media.
Most of our listeners are on social media. So how does this even connect with them?
So here's why I'm telling you about a wealthy woman who's never even been on Instagram. I know that seems strange, because that's typically what we're talking about, is social media and how it breaks you. But if comparison can run her into the ground with no phone in sight, I think you can feel self-assured that this isn't an abnormal problem. This isn't a new problem. It's something that is built into us. We're feeling like we can't fit in because we don't have a place to belong. Now, I will say that a screen that you're looking at constantly will amplify the problem. Hers was extreme even without it, but having a screen in front of you constantly, always on social media, can amplify it. She just got the analog deluxe version.
That's right. Analog. That's right. So how is she doing now? Is she getting better?
Well, she's not fixed. I'm not going to pretend that she came to a life coach and now she's all fixed, 6 sessions and blah,
Yeah.
I wish. But something has started to crack open, and it has been a lot more than 6 sessions. So she realized that she had this harsh measuring stick and that she was judging people around her. And she came to this through processing out loud what she was doing. I mean, with a series of a lot of good questions. But she finally has realized that that measuring stick that she's been aiming at everyone else has actually ruined her own life. She has been crushed by her own measuring stick. And that's the whole turn. When the judgment stops feeling like clear sight, it can start feeling like a cage. You're trapped.
I can totally see how that's how it works. You just build this box or cage around yourself.
Yeah, and when you're in a cage, it's like being in a cell,
Right.
You're alone, all alone and sad.
Okay, here's a question. That thing where she's ranking above and behind everyone at the same time, higher and lower, does that ever resolve on its own, or does it just keep going?
Well, that is a great question. And I would say that it doesn't typically resolve on its own, that it is a learned response, how we deal with things, just like most every other thing that we deal with regularly, right? If we're having any type of pattern of thinking that is holding us back, then we have to unwire and rewire, right? Or rewire to unwire. And that is a process. Now, I'm not going to say that you can't have a miraculous event. I do believe in that. I do believe that people have spiritual events where things are broken and changed. That could happen, but that's not.
Not the usual.
It is not the usual. No. It can happen in various ways. You don't have to necessarily go to a therapist. You don't have to go to a life coach. Maybe it's that you involve yourself with a new group. Maybe it's a group of friends, maybe where you're talking about things that actually lead you in the right direction to rewiring your brain, challenging you to become a better person.
Rewire. So in the moment that she started to see that her own judgment was trapping her in this cage, in this cell, what did that look like? Was it gradual, or was it just like a conversation that clicked?
You are challenging my memory. I would say gradual. There might have been some moments where there was some kind of leaping forward moments where she was like, oh my goodness, I see something. But mostly it was gradual. And it was just this process of her talking out loud and talking about how she felt so alone, but she didn't want to be involved with people below her. So it's what is it about that? What makes you think that they are lesser than you are? And she then was like, oh, I mean, maybe even some of the words that I chose, because that she didn't like that rubbed her the wrong way.
Right.
But it's exactly what she was doing. So I just kind of called it, and she was appreciative that I did, because she was like, oh, I don't want to be that kind of person, So the self-realization was a slow discovery of, oh, I'm being very judgmental. And in time, she was realizing she wasn't just judging the people below her, also the ones ahead of her. I mean, I don't even like using those terms, but I don't know what else to say to try to convey what we're talking about.
So do you think most people are like that? I know there's different processors, but do you think it's mostly a gradual thing, or is it usually something that clicks for people?
I mean, I would go back to it's usually gradual and without a miraculous event, that it's going to be a gradual change. It's going to be a realization over time. And sometimes, especially with younger people, it's growing up and seeing the realities of life.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that don't get that. They, for some reason, that is their nemesis, and it stays with them well into adulthood. And this lady was in her 40s, so that's a long time to live like that. Yeah.
And it sounds like it's a work in progress. It's something that you have to work on.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just going to change on its own.
Mm-hmm. And she does have a few closer friends now. She didn't have friends when I first started working with her, but she does now.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So I think the one thing is that we understand what's actually happening, like what you're explaining to us. It's something that's, of course, our brain trying to keep us safe, as is almost everything that we've talked about. It's our brain trying to keep us safe.
Yeah. Okay. I want to interrupt there.
Okay.
You're right. I mean, that is what everyone says, keep us safe. But I feel like safe is a word that pertains to physical safety mostly.
Oh,
and
okay,
so
yeah.
it's hard for people, I think, to get their heads wrapped around that we need emotional safety.
Well, right.
And that is what she was looking for, emotional safety. So I just wanted to add that word in.
Clarify that a little bit. Yeah. Not keep us safe from the bear, but keep us safe in our mind. Mm-hmm. Okay. It seems like the question stops being, why can't I just stop? And it starts being, okay, what can I do to stop this?
Oh, I love that.
Or change this.
I love that. Yes. Yes.
All right. So, Suzette, how do we do that? How do we change that question in our minds to be, okay, how do I stop doing this?
Well, I think exactly what you said is we just have to make a conscious decision to change the question. The question becomes, what can I do to stop this? And not just stop right now. So yeah, there's some tools that work really well.
Awesome.
So naming the loop, because it's typically a loop. You know, we're constantly scanning and looking for the same thing. And it may not be like her. I mean, hers was, it seemed like it was all wardrobe related. Yes, classic low self-esteem. But she was getting that low self-esteem because of what she was scanning for, and it all had to do with the wardrobe. That might not be your thing. So you have to know what you are being held back by, and then naming it. So naming that, my brain is doing that thing again. So naming the loop. What is it? What's happening right now? And is it real? Is it true? So those kind of questions right off the top, naming the loop and asking a couple of questions will really help just identify that, okay, this is what's going on. And then, of course, there's more steps. You got to audit the environment. Because
okay, wait. So this works for anything. When you see something on your phone and it triggers you, or when you're, like you said, in a big group of people and you're scanning on, where do I fit? So this naming, all what we're doing is going to help with either.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Absolutely. It's a huge thing that works both in social media, when we're on social media, and in any place where we are not feeling good about ourselves because of what's out there.
How we're comparing or trying to
comparing. It's all about comparing.
Okay.
The next tool would be to audit the environment. So your willpower is finite. So it's something you have to learn. Your environment, though, is adjustable. So if you're finding that something is constantly pulling those cortisol responses, then you got to decide, is it something I want to keep doing? And she did want to keep going to these fundraisers, right? Because that's where she could go and serve. She felt like that's where she was able to invest her money in ways that were for good. And so maybe you don't want to get off social media. Fine. But maybe you do. Or maybe you want to limit it. Or maybe it's a social circle that you're running in that causes this. So, maybe it's that you're going to happy hour at a fancy hoity-toity place right after work every night. Is that really where you want to spend your time? maybe not. Maybe those too many triggers are pulled there. So sometimes just changing the environment or the types of people that you're working with, running with socially can really, really help. And that doesn't mean that you don't like them. It just might mean that they have different priorities than you do.
Which is harder to do than just, I'm going to change my friend set. It is a hard thing to work through. And maybe we should have a show on how to make new friends or how to change your environment in that way.
Socially. Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
It typically works best just to scale back first. If you're, especially if it's a work thing, because these are the people that you're around in the workplace and you want to continue to have good relationships with them. So finding things that fill your time so you can't can be a really good way to start scaling back the amount of time that you're spending with them socially.
Pull back a little bit.
Pull back. Mm-hmm. So the goal isn't to never feel triggered. And the truth is that, well, think about the client. Hers was comparison, but yet it was in every circle she moved in. So it wasn't the circles themselves. She actually did think kind of about opting out of life. You know what that means.
Yes.
That was before my time with her. But fortunately, she didn't, and she continued with life. But the problem was internal, and it always is. It always is. Yes, we can get rid of some of the triggers, but it's an internal problem. And that's why we rewire our brain. We like to blame everything on social media or on other triggers, but it's what we do with those triggers that matter. So the goal isn't really never to feel triggered. It's really to stop engineering your own stress and letting it happen by accident. So whether it's through your feed or through your social calendar or whatever, you just have to know what you're going to do with it when you see it. And when you change your brain, you react differently.
For sure. I mean, that's what this whole podcast and your course is all about, is changing your brain so that all of this changes.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's get to tool number 3.
Okay.
It's really get curious about what it's pointing to. So comparison tends to land hardest around the things that we care about the most and feel most uncertain about. So what did she do about it? She did something about it, and it really helped. It sounds crazy, but it really helped. She hired a wardrobe consultant.
How awesome is that?
And who would have thought that that would have been a good solution? But it was a good solution for her. It helped just give her someone to talk to and help her to feel confident when she was walking out the door. You know, we can't all afford a wardrobe consultant, but the truth is we don't need one, most of us, right? But what you do need, you can afford, you will afford, because when it comes to your brain and your emotional health, you can afford the help you need.
That's right.
Right?
That is right.
Yeah.
You can find a way. Mm-hmm. She was able to hire a wardrobe consultant, and that really helped her. What can our listeners do, especially when it comes to social media?
Yeah, when it comes to social media, I will say everyone is different.
Right.
So it really depends on you. But one overarching thing is if you can hire a life coach, that can really help you just process through, like, what is it that is making you feel so down or anxious? And then working on ways to change that.
So a life coach will help you talk through this and work through this to find out what it is that's causing this for you. Maybe it's not social media. Maybe it's something else. And they can help you just process through this. It's not necessarily hiring a life coach to teach you how to do life or where to go in your life. It's more about this kind of stuff, learning what's triggering you and how to fix it. Mm-hmm. And maybe you don't know what it is.
Yes. And I'm not saying this for sales on my part by any means. I actually am not taking new clients right now, but I do have referrals. So that is something that could be helpful for our listeners.
We don't mention it enough, but you do have a course that helps with this kind of thing.
Well, yeah, for sure.
So if you haven't checked out the course, unafraidliving.com, and see the course and check it out and see if it's something that you would be interested in. I know you talk about a lot of this stuff and will help with a lot of this stuff, anxiety and comparison and things like that.
Oh, for sure. It's chock full of tools. And the thing about it is it's really robust. There's a lot of videos, but I was looking at it yesterday and going, oh, a bunch of these are way shorter than I thought they were. Some of them are like 6 minutes long. So I think probably the average is 6 to 12 minutes for each of the videos. There's 30 of them, but we encourage people taking the course to use the growth sheets because it helps you reflect on what you heard in the video and then apply it to your life.
So
and
kind of like talking with a life coach.
It is, and so much less expensive. You got to be committed to sticking with it because there's so many different kinds of things that trigger us. And particularly when it comes to thought patterns, there's different ones that seem to plague us the most. And so I help people go through all the different thought patterns. Well, I'm sure there's more, but like 9 different thought patterns, and then decide on how to respond to that type of thought. And it changes the wiring in your brain. So a life coach is a great thing that you can do. But I also think that it might have to do with a specific thing that you're seeing with other people. So if it has to do with their accomplishments, there might be one thing that you would do. It might have to do with travel. And so that would be a different thing. So like I said, it's very individualized. Like a wardrobe consultant was for my client. You've got to figure out what it is. What is it that's triggering you? Is it all of social media? And I'm not discounting working with a therapist. Working with a therapist may be what you need. It really depends on your baggage. And, if you have a lot that you haven't worked through that stems from your childhood, then absolutely see a therapist before you see a life coach, because you want to get past that.
So even the course is technically getting curious about it.
It is getting curious. Yeah, that is very true. And, okay, I thought of another example of why it really, I think what often triggers us is when our values get challenged on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the example that I thought of was a gal who really values wholesome, raw beauty. She hates putting on makeup. She feels like she's wasted her time every time she gets her nails done. And she believes that heels are going to wreck her back. You know that girl? She's like just beautiful in a very different kind of way than what she's seeing on social media. But she doesn't see her own beauty. She looks at social media and she feels lesser than. Then there's a specific thing. We have narrowed down what it is that's bothering her.
I would say the comparison is the pointer. It's not the verdict.
Yeah. So that challenges her values. And so usually, most often, our values are getting challenged, and that's what is grating at us.
Right. Triggering, yes. I know that's a word everybody uses.
But it's a good one. And then there's the connection antidote. That would be tool number 4. We need bonding. We were built for bonding. We were created for oxytocin. And that's a relational hormone.
Which I know you can get from a longer hug.
A longer hug. That's right, Kim. And you know what it does? It counters cortisol. So when we're feeling amped up, a good long hug is a great thing to calm us down. That's what we did with our kids when they were little. Why don't we think about doing it with our spouses or our boyfriend or,
our friends.
Our friends even, for sure.
I've read this. Longer eye contact can create more oxytocin.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy? You don't even have to touch the person.
Even a text, a kind text. It doesn't have to be anything grand and long. It just has to be real. So back to the client story. She had status. She had proximity. She was close to a lot of people in physical terms,
right?
Not relational. Her social calendar was full of events, but she didn't have connection. When you have connection, that's where you get to stop performing and start belonging. So that's one of the things that will counteract all this comparison. And then the whole premise of Unafraid Living is community over consumption. We've got to connect. Okay, I'm just going to recap those bullet points because we kind of went a long time talking about them. So tool number one, name the loop. Tool number two, audit the environment. Tool number three, get curious about what your own comparison is pointing to. Tool number four, the connection antidote. So that is the antidote, the connection.
Okay. So now what do you want our listeners to walk away with?
To walk away knowing that you're normal. To walk away knowing that your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. To compare, to make sure that you are not just physically safe, but emotionally safe. And when you start naming that, it helps that comparison spiral and the cortisol to tame down.
Understanding changes the conversations that you have with yourself in those moments.
It does. Yeah. When you name it, you have this understanding of, oh, okay.
Right. So now you're not working on willpower. You're working on actually what's happening, like biology.
Yeah, that's right. Yay, you're getting it.
Well, do you have one thing that you want our listeners to try this week? Of course you do.
Yes. I kind of think I just stated it. Naming it, auditing it, getting curious about what it's pointing to, and getting connected. Getting connected, even if it's just to one person that you can stop performing with. So notice, what is your comparison pointing to? And once you do that, notice what shifts. If this episode hit something for you and you know other people who need it, please send it to them. And if you're not already part of the Unafraid Living community, come find us. All the links are in the show notes. We'll see you next time.
If something landed for you today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. That's how we grow this community.
And when you're ready to take the next step, the Unafraid course is waiting for you at unafraidcourse.com. I'd love to coach you through it.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And don't forget to check the show notes. And remember, your brain is listening.
So fear less, keep calm, live more, and listen on.